Hey guys, this is Karan back with another video. Today I am doing something different, that I am in front of the camera rather than behind it, and that's because I want to talk to you about the Rolex phenomenon. I understand that there has a lot been said about it already by experts, by industry insiders who possess far greater knowledge than me, but I think the hype and the anguish has come to such a head that I want to put my thoughts across. Right, so before I proceed, please do subscribe to my channel and like my video, drop a comment if you like. Also, you can subscribe to, you can follow me on Instagram with the link in the description box below, because when you do that, when you follow me, when you subscribe, it gives me a lot of confidence to make more videos. And if you already subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram, thank you very much for your support. Well, I'll be speaking a little about my experience with regards to Indian Rolex dealers, and to put some extrapolation to dealers in other countries may be reasonably accurate. Now, why can't everyone get a Rolex Steel Professional watch? Why does your local dealer does not have any stock available at any time? And why do some watches command obscene amounts of premiums? These questions come up once every few weeks on Watch Enthusiast India. That is the fastest growing private watch collectors group for Indians, and on various other groups that I'm a part of. And today I'll try and answer those questions to the best of my ability. But before I proceed further, let's do a customary wrist check. On my right wrist, I am wearing Tudor Black Bay Heritage, Tudor Heritage Black Bay, the Harrods edition with the green bezel and the gilt dial. And on my right wrist, yes, I double wrist every day, it's the new Summit, the Starbucks or the Shrek, whatever you want to call it. So it's a beautiful watch. I recently got it from my dealer, and this kind of prompted this video today. Let's proceed. Now, first and foremost, Rolex is a watchmaking business. They're not a watch selling business, and therein lies the base difference. Their business is limited to making watches and selling that inventory to authorized dealers. The authorized dealers, in turn, are supposed to develop relationships with customers and sell that stock. Now, Rolex, I think, is certainly aware of the grey market phenomenon, and they are taking calculated risks to curtail this situation. I think they are matching serial numbers of watches that come back into the circulation or come back for servicing, and then they trace it back to the dealer where that particular watch was sold, and then they may take appropriate action against the dealership in the form of threatening them, pressurizing them to go on the right path, or maybe even taking their dealership status away. They may also demand information about the customer who they sold this watch to, and they might even bar the dealership from selling to that customer. So these things have been known to happen. It's not a new phenomenon, it's already happening. Next, Rolex has a wide range of watches they make per year. Who are we to tell them to make fewer pieces of, say, the gold Daytona? It works very well for them. Why should they make fewer gold watches and more steel professional watches? They are not a fledgling company, they are not a struggling company, and I'm sure they have a think tank bigger than all the watch collectors in India combined. And these guys know, they sure as hell know way more than what we do. And they have a plan that they're kind of sticking to. They have researched the market quite thoroughly over all these decades. They know with a fair amount of certainty what the market demands and what they need to make. So if you see an inordinate number of two-tone or gold Datejust at your local dealership, pretty sure Rolex made them as per a plan. Now, whether that plan is working is a different story. Now, when a business is in for the long run, has thrived successfully for 75 years and is planning to successfully exist for another 100 years at the minimum, I'm sure they have a certain path and a carefully thought out plan in place. Obviously, they're not going to change this plan on the whims of a volatile market and silly demands and fancies of a small fraction of distant customers. They don't need to ramp up production of anything, and why should they? They shouldn't. Today we are screaming bloody murder at the brand, but even suppose they were to flood the market with 200% more Rolex Steel Professional pieces, and everybody got one, eventually the charm of the Rolex brand would go down, and they would be left sitting with unsold thousands of watches in their warehouses and their organs firmly in their hands. So they would never want that. And what you also have to understand is that uncontrolled demand for steel professional watches is allowing them to sell unprecedented numbers of precious metal watches. It's just business sense. Why would they change that? Why would they stop that? It's not going to happen. Now, steel professional watches make up about 15 to 20% of their overall production. Even, and not to think, if they were to ramp up production overall production by 20%, the total steel professional watches production would go up by barely 2 to 3%. That's nothing. Demand is never going to be met. Now let me give you an example. By simple calculations, by the percentages that I just told you. Suppose an Indian authorized dealer for Rolex receives 2,000 Rolex watches in a year. That means only 300 to 400 watches are steel professional watches. That too spread evenly, or sort of evenly over at least 12 odd SKUs that they have for steel watches. So that makes it barely 12 to 15 watches per SKU in one whole year. 300 to 400 pieces total steel professional watches, and the wait list, the demand list runs into thousands of people waiting for that watch. The demand is never going to be met. It's as simple as that. Even if they were to ramp up production at significant cost, it's no mean feat, it's no small feat, because the added cost overheads have to be taken into consideration. And even if they bumped up steel professional watches numbers to 500 per year, there are people who have been waiting for 5 years, for 7 years, 6 years, 4 years. Demand is not going to be met. But fear not, I'm going to tell you how you can acquire your choice of Rolex watch eventually. Just hang on, just keep watching. But to understand this phenomenon a little more, let's kind of look back at how it happened. The demand was always there, there's no question. The stock was always there, but some dealers, not Indian dealers per se, but I'm kind of speaking in a general sense of world over, but specifically Hong Kong and the Middle East, those dealers saw that cash buyers were ready to, kind of pay a little extra on top of the retail price, forget discounting, little extra on top of the retail price to acquire their choice of watch sooner than others. This seemed great, right? I mean, it's a good business strategy, it made them more money. So they started doing that. They kind of created an artificial scarcity, telling people that we may have the watch. While they have the watch in the safe or in the storeroom, but they say we may have the watch later. So you might give a deposit to us. You might have to pay a little extra to us, and people were ready to do that. That's okay. That's fair, because humans are sucky by nature. What happened was, pretty soon, that little extra turned into demands of 40 to 80% extra on top of the retail price. And people were still ready to pay. And that's what led to the grey market phenomenon. What I can also tell is, maybe it's a case of unreasonable sequestration of wealth, but that is a totally different topic for now. I mean, I'm not going to touch on that. The artificial scarcity became a real thing. Stocks ran out quicker than they could source watches. And also, I'm not invalidating the chain of thought that dealers initially sold to the grey market by themselves, directly to the grey market to make a quick buck. It may have happened, but now with Rolex cutting down on supply and taking drastic steps against errant and suspect dealers, I don't think anybody's doing that anymore, because it's very risky to their business to lose a Rolex dealership, and that's what Rolex threatens them with. So it's risky stuff. Coming to the dealers, it's the dealer that has to sell to the customer, right? The situation is that they have the right to make money, as much money as they can. They are running a business. They're selling watches to keep the lights on, to feed hundreds of families. They're not running a charity, they're not running a social service, they don't owe us anything. However great a customer we may be, they don't owe us anything, to be honest. That's how the world is. And if they can capitalize on the market trend and sell combos, sell bundles, ask for premiums and get away with it, more power to them. One fine. The market is set up in such a way that our only source for watches is the dealer. So you know what? Now this is one way how you can get a watch, is be nice to them. Talk to them. Maybe make a few non-Rolex purchases which you like, which mean a lot to you. Because it is watch collecting, right? It's the name of the hobby is not Rolex collecting. It's watch collecting. So enjoy some watches, buy some cool watches, enjoy them, have a great conversation with the dealer, be polite to the sales staff, to the management staff. It goes a long way. I firmly believe in this, you know. Now, the most important bit that people forget that we are the customers. We are where the buck stops, you know. I know Rolex watches are very desirable. The phenomenon was mostly brought about by human greed and the need to have anything at any cost, you know. But does one really need all Rolex watches? Unless you're a Rolex fanboy, I don't see the point. It's just stupid. And even if you're collecting only Rolex watches, you have no idea how much you're missing out on. There are so many amazing brands, so many amazing watches out there, and you're foregoing all of that just for Rolex. Who cares? Now, sadly, that is a reality we live in, where owning tens of Rolex watches or even hundreds of Rolex watches gives people the false sense of power. You know, these are just wristwatches, for God's sake. They're not the gift of gods. They're not an earth-shattering weapon. Calm down. You will get your Rolex watch in due time. Now, the dealer has to sell to us, right? So we as a community can say no to premiums. And that is the only time when the watches are not selling, is when Rolex will stand up and take notice. Otherwise, they'll keep doing business as it is. Nothing's going to change. Now, but that isn't happening, right? Because humans are sucky by nature. And this effect is going to get amplified in the future. It's not going to change, unfortunately. You guys might say that I'm speaking from the other side, now that I have kind of cracked the formula of getting your dealer to give you a Rolex watch, but that is far from the truth. What I said before is very valid in my case. The one Rolex watch that I got from my dealer, the one Rolex watch, not more than that, just one, has come about after many years of developing a relationship with them. I bought lots of watches from them, from Ores, from Breitling, Omegas, because I love those watches in my own right, and you know, they were a good source to supply me those watches. I bought those watches from them. They looked at my purchase history, they looked at my relationship with them, and this is how this watch materialized. I did not do anything special, trust me. The dealer did not do anything special for me, because it's their job to sell, it's my job to buy. As a collector, I like buying watches, I buy watches. The dealers are also forced into this situation. They don't like it either. They're not thrilled about it either. You know, did you know in the past 2 days that since I've owned this watch, the dealer that I bought it from, their sales staff, and I personally, we have received hate messages. Hate messages with abusive, downright dirty, crude language. Is this what the hobby has come to? You know, with bad attitudes and serious entitlement issues? I know for a fact that some dealers are openly demanding premiums, and I guess there are enough people out there with that kind of money to pay up premiums. That's good for them. I will never stop you from paying the premium. But if you don't want to pay a premium, you know, and this is what most dealers are turning to now, it's a merit-based system. They will look at your relationship, they look at your purchase history. And to be honest, when you think that, you know, how can a dealer judge me to be worthy or unworthy, think about this. Isn't it the same process that is utilized in all your life for education, for your job, for most of the success that you've achieved? I mean, there was someone evaluating your worth to become a part of their organization and their team, and how you would benefit them. I mean, you got something out of it, sure, but they also got something out of it. You know, so there was someone who was evaluating you. This is the same process that's going to go on that's going to happen in dealers with Rolex watches now. And I think it's all right to do that, because it's a slightly better system than paying unexplained amount of money just to get one Rolex watch. Also, you know, you're aiming for a Rolex watch. It's not a $20 Casio. You act like a premium customer. You know, show some manners. Come on. If anybody could walk in and buy a Rolex watch and at any watch they wanted, we would not be having this conversation. We would not be bitching about it so much. The hype would die down already, but the hype is there. It's the reality we live in. It's not going to change. If you take one thing away from this video, and it should be this: be nice to people. It pays off. Thank you for listening. I'll try and do a review video for this soon enough. Thank you for watching. Take care.